They laughed at a driver in the rain. Outside Crown Group headquarters, under a luxury skyscraper that glowed like a crown, Sheila stood with her scarf pulled tight, watching her father, Daniel Mensah, hold the car door open like his dignity didn't matter. Rain hammered the glass. Rain washed the marble. Rain soaked the curb where staff were expected to stay invisible. A cluster of elite employees spilled out of the lobby, suits sharp, voices louder than the weather. One of them, Leo, pointed at Daniel's uniform and grinned. "Daniel," he called mock cheerful. "Our chariot master." The group laughed, like it was entertainment. Sheila stepped forward, reaching for her father's hand, quietly, gently, trying to steady him before the humiliation became a memory she'd never forget. But security moved first. A guard shoved them back with an arm like a barrier. "You can't stand here," he snapped, eyes flicking over Daniel like he was part of the car. Sheila's chest tightened. Her father lowered his gaze. And that's when the street lights caught something black and glossy sliding through the rain. A convoy. One car. Two. Three. Silent. Expensive. Swallowing the curb like it owned the night. Executives straightened. Laughter died mid-breath. Phones lowered. Heads turned. Whispers ran through the entrance like a chill. "She's here. The new CEO." Sheila froze. The lead car stopped. The back door opened. And before anyone could speak, before security could move, Sheila stepped out. No one recognized her. Not yet. The rain slid down her black coat as she straightened, heels touching the wet pavement with quiet authority. She didn't look around. She didn't rush. She didn't flinch. Security froze. The executives stared, confused, eyes darting between the convoy, the woman, and the soaked driver they'd just laughed at. A whisper slipped through the crowd. "Isn't that the driver's daughter?" Another voice answered, sharper. "No, that can't be her." Sheila turned slowly. And for the first time, her father saw it too. Not the girl who used to wait in the car with packed food and quiet patience. Not the daughter who learned early how to stay invisible. This woman stood like the rain owed her an apology. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. "Sheila," he whispered. She looked at him then. And the moment her eyes softened, just for him, the years collapsed. "I told you to wait in the car," he said weakly, confused, frightened, ashamed. She took one step toward him. "Not anymore," she replied. The lobby doors slid open automatically, as if the building itself recognized her presence. Inside, panic spread fast. Phones buzzed. Assistants straightened. Security radios crackled with urgent whispers. "She's confirmed. The board's already upstairs." This is really happening. Leo stood frozen near the entrance, rain dripping from his collar, color draining from his face as memory punched him in the chest. The scarf, the eyes, the voice. It was her. His mouth opened. No sound came out. Sheila walked past him without a glance. Not because she didn't remember, because she did. Inside the lobby, marble floors gleamed under chandelier light, just like they had years ago, the night she stood outside in the rain and learned how small the world thought she was. She stopped at the center of the room. Every conversation died. Every step paused. Then she spoke. "Good evening," she said calmly. "My name is Sheila Mensah." A beat. "And I'll be taking the top floor." The elevator chimed. Doors opened. No one moved to stop her. No one dared. As she stepped inside, someone whispered the words that sealed the moment. "That's not just anybody." The door slid shut. "That's the new CEO." The boardroom at the top floor of Crown Group was designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city spread below like something conquered. A heavy table dominated the center of the room. Leather chairs, chrome fixtures, and abstract art whispered the same message. "We are untouchable." Most of the board members were already seated, their faces drawn tight with the strain of uncertainty. At the far end of the room sat Marcus Crown, grandson of the company's founder and current chairman of the board. His hair was silver, his eyes still sharp. He looked at the empty chair at the head of the table, the one his late father used to occupy, the chair that had remained symbolic. Until tonight. The door opened. Sheila walked in. For a moment, no one breathed. She wasn't wearing a name tag. She didn't need to. Power followed her into the room like a shadow. Her black coat slid from her shoulders in one smooth motion as an assistant took it. Underneath, she wore a fitted dark suit that managed to look both elegant and lethal. She walked to the head of the table, heels silent on the carpet, and placed a slim leather folder down in front of the empty chair. Then she looked up. Her eyes met Leo's first. Recognition hit him like a punch. The driver's daughter. Except the girl from the rain-soaked curb was gone. This woman looked like she could buy his sins and sell them back to him with interest. Leo swallowed. Marcus cleared his throat. "Ms. Mensah, is it?" he asked. A hint of a smile touched her lips. "Not quite," she said. "You knew me as the driver's daughter." Several faces stiffened. She let the silence stretch just long enough. "But tonight," she continued, "you'll use a different title." Her fingers rested lightly on the folder. "Because as of 1800 hours, she said, "I am the majority shareholder of Crown Group, and your new CEO." For a moment after she spoke, the room said nothing. Rain tapped softly against the glass walls, the only sound in a boardroom suddenly frozen in disbelief. Leo's throat felt dry. Marcus Crown leaned forward, his face paling. The younger board members exchanged panicked looks. Finally, Marcus forced a strained smile. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding," he said, gesturing stiffly. "This company is not for sale, and we certainly do not." Sheila slid the leather folder across the table. "Open it." Marcus hesitated. She didn't. Her voice didn't raise. Her posture didn't shift. But something in her tone made even the air obey. Marcus opened the folder. The crisp sound of paper filled the room. First page. Certificate of Inheritance. Isabel Crown Mensah, Sheila Mensah. Dated 20 years earlier. Second page. Transfer of 51% founding shares. Signed with the original founder's signature beside Sheila's mother's name. Third page. Legal confirmation of shareholder majority status. Stamped. Sealed. Unstoppable. Marcus went pale. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Isabel, she died before." "Yes," Sheila said softly. "She died giving birth to me." That silenced even the bravest fools. Leo leaned back slowly in his chair, eyes wide. "Oh God," he breathed. Sheila looked around the table, her gaze sharp enough to cut through the lies that had run this company for decades. "You all knew her," she said. "You all knew my mother built half of this company with her own hands. But when she died, you acted like she never existed." Silence. "Her shares were hidden," Sheila continued, her tone steady. "Buried behind shell companies. Disguised. Buried so deeply even her own husband didn't know their full worth." Marcus flinched. Because someone here made sure of that. A few heads turned. A few throats tightened. Sheila didn't stop. "My father, the driver you mocked, worked for this company for 20 years. He believed in Crown Group. He believed in loyalty. He believed in all of you." Her eyes flicked toward Leo. "And you responded by laughing at him in the rain." Leo looked down. "I didn't know," he began. "No," she said quietly. "You didn't care." She looked at Marcus again. "When my mother died, my father was told her name would be handled. He trusted you. Trusted this board. And you paid him back by giving him late-night shifts and a corner to park the car while you drank champagne upstairs." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "That's not. We never." "Would you like me to release the footage?" Sheila asked calmly. Every spine in the room stiffened. She let the silence simmer. Then, "I'm not here to argue," she said. "I'm here to take what belongs to me, and to finish what my mother started." She pulled out the last document. A notarized signature from the founder himself, naming Isabel Crown Mensah, his successor. Gasps rippled around the table. Marcus slammed a hand on the table. "This changes nothing." Sheila tilted her head slightly. "It changes everything." Her voice was still soft, confident, unshakable. "Because unlike you," she continued, "I didn't inherit privilege. I inherited purpose." Marcus stood abruptly, leaning over the table. "You don't know how this world works. You think you can walk in here with pretty paperwork and take control? You're a child." Sheila didn't blink. "I was a child," she said. "The night my father was fired while he was sick. The day he came home with his uniform soaked in blood because one of your managers pushed him against a wall. The day I watched him cough through nights because he refused to complain." Her hands clenched once. "Only once. I grew up," she said. "And you should have been afraid the moment I did." Marcus opened his mouth, but Leo whispered urgently, "Sir, the documents are real. The shares, the signatures, the holdings. She controls the majority." Marcus turned to him, furious. "You verified this?" Leo swallowed. "The lawyers did." The older board members looked away. The younger ones looked ready to kneel. Sheila held their silence like a queen holds a crown. I didn't come here for revenge, she said. I came here for justice, and structure, and transformation, something this company desperately needs. She walked to the head of the table. Her heels sounded like verdicts. She placed her hand on the chair. This chair belonged to my mother, she said. Now it belongs to me. She sat, slowly, deliberately, perfectly. Marcus clenched his fists. This is not over. Sit down, Marcus, she said softly. He didn't. She leaned forward, eyes locked on his. It wasn't a request. The room held its breath. Marcus's jaw flexed. Then, he sat. The power shift was instant. Total. Irreversible. Sheila turned her gaze to Leo. You mock my father. Leo swallowed. Yes, ma'am. You laughed at me. His voice was smaller now. Yes. You treated us like we were beneath you. He couldn't look at her. Stand up, she said. He obeyed instantly. Sheila watched him for a moment. Not with cruelty. With precision. You're not fired. Leo blinked. Everyone else froze. You're demoted, she said. To driver rotation. 6 months. The blood drained from his face. But, consider it education, she said. No one laughed at the irony. Sheila continued. You will start tomorrow. My father will supervise your training. Leo lowered his head. Shame wrapped around him like a rope. Yes, CEO Mensa, he whispered. The title echoed in the room. CEO Mensa. Sheila leaned back slightly in her mother's chair. Now, she said, let's begin. Her voice held the cold elegance of a woman who did not need anger to control a room. Just truth. The boardroom, once a battlefield, became her throne. The city lights shone behind her, and every man and woman present felt it in their bones. The driver's daughter had just become the most dangerous woman in the building. If you like stories where disrespect gets repaid with power, tap like and subscribe. Power didn't feel like a crown. It felt like silence. The type of silence that follows an earthquake, heavy, trembling, waiting for aftershocks. After the boardroom meeting, Sheila dismissed everyone with a simple gesture. Not harsh, not loud, just certain. People obeyed without thinking, their instincts shifting around the new gravity in the room. Except Marcus Crown. He lingered by the windows, staring out at the city with an expression that mixed disbelief and humiliation. You think this company will follow you? Marcus said without turning around. These people have served me for years. Sheila closed the folder calmly. They didn't serve you, she said. They feared you. That ends today. Marcus turned, anger tightening his jaw. You have your mother's shares, yes. But you don't have the connections. You don't have the allies. You don't have. Sheila stood. Marcus stopped mid-sentence. Because it was the first time he truly saw her. Not the soaked girl in the rain, not the driver's shadow, but the woman who could break his career with a phone call. You mistake me for someone who wants your network, Sheila said. I'm building my own. He scoffed. With who? The cleaning staff. Her gaze sharpened. With people who were invisible to you. Marcus took a step closer. You have no idea how ruthless this world is. I grew up in it, she replied. Except I saw it from the ground, not from a glass office. Which means I understand it better than you ever did. The tension between them thickened. Not sexual. Not friendly. A cold, sharp recognition. Two predators realizing they share a territory. Downstairs, the building buzzed with chaos. Executives raced between departments. Assistants whispered behind hands. Security checked badges 3 times. The shift in power wasn't just internal, everyone felt it in their bones. In the middle of the storm, Daniel arrived. He entered through the staff entrance, cap in his hands, shoulders slumped with the memory of humiliation. He didn't know his daughter had already turned the entire building upside down. He just wanted to pick up his belongings. Employees glanced at him differently now, whispering, watching. A young intern approached timidly. Mr. Mensa? She asked. Daniel paused. Yes. You're needed upstairs. His eyebrows lifted. Upstairs. Yes. The boardroom. Daniel's heart began to race. No. You must be mistaken, he said. I'm only here to. Sheila said to bring you up immediately. The intern finished. Daniel froze. Sheila? What was she doing here? Why would she be upstairs? He followed the girl into the private elevator. As the doors closed, his reflection stared back at him. A tired man with calloused hands, a faded uniform, and eyes that had learned to hide pain. The elevator rose. His chest tightened. Something was happening. Something dangerous. Something big. When the doors slid open, Daniel stepped into the top-floor lobby, polished marble, soft lighting, and a reception desk he had never been permitted to approach as an employee. "Mr. Mensah?" the receptionist asked gently. "Yes. Your daughter is in the boardroom." His breath caught. He walked slowly toward the double doors, palms sweating despite the cold air. When he pushed them open, he nearly stopped breathing. Sheila stood at the head of the table, not in fear, not in shame, but in command. Her posture straight, her shoulders strong, her eyes sharp, but warm when they landed on him. "Dad," she said softly. Daniel looked around the room. People in expensive suits standing at attention, Marcus Crown sitting rigidly, Leo trying not to faint. What is this?" Daniel whispered. Sheila walked to him. "This," she said, taking his hands, "is your company." Daniel blinked. "My what?" Sheila spoke clearly, so everyone heard. "My mother, your wife, was the co-founder of Crown Group. Her shares belong to me, which means her legacy belongs to us. And today, I reclaimed it." Daniel staggered. No, Sheila, that can't be." "It can," she said, voice steady. "And it is." Daniel's eyes filled with tears he had held back for years. "But why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they honor her name? Why?" Sheila placed a hand on his cheek. "Because power hides what it fears." Daniel shook his head, overwhelmed. "I don't deserve." "You deserve everything," she whispered fiercely. "You suffered for decades while they took her name off the wall. You raised me alone. You survived humiliation. Dad, I would not be here without you." He pulled her into a trembling embrace. The room fell silent, not out of courtesy, but out of shame, because every person there had seen him as nothing. Now they witnessed the truth. A soft chime interrupted the moment. Sheila's phone vibrated with a single encrypted message. Unknown sender. No preview. Just one line. "Welcome to the throne, Ms. Mensah. I've been waiting for you." Her breath stilled. Daniel pulled back, noticing the shift in her expression. "What is it?" he asked. She forced a small smile. "Nothing. Just business." But it wasn't. It was a warning, because only one person in the city used that messaging system. A man who attended shareholder meetings in bulletproof cars. A man whose companies bought and sold governments quietly. A man known for turning corporate rivals into allies, or ghosts. A man Sheila had admired from afar while studying her mother's old documents. Adrian Voss, the Wolf of East Dominion. And now, he knew her name. She tucked the phone away, masking the shiver running down her spine. Things were about to get much more complicated, much more dangerous, much more interesting. She returned to her seat at the head of the table, her father standing proudly behind her. "Let's continue," she said calmly. But inside, her blood hummed. She was CEO now, but she was stepping into a world where power wasn't just signed on paper. It was hunted. It was challenged. It was seduced. And Adrian Voss didn't reach out to new CEOs. Unless he wanted something. Or someone. The first week of Sheila's leadership felt like fire sweeping through the company. Controlled. Precise. Impossible to stop. On Monday, she audited every department. On Tuesday, she summoned every senior manager for a competency review. By Wednesday, whispers were spiraling through the building. She's replacing everyone. Marcus is losing control. Who is mentoring her? She's too strategic for a newcomer. She moves like someone who's been in power before. Sheila wasn't cruel, but she was efficient. She fired the head of HR after 3 separate reports of discrimination surfaced. She reassigned 2 directors who'd been siphoning funds through consulting fees. She suspended 3 executives pending investigation. And every decision came with evidence. Cold, calm, irrefutable. Some employees feared her. Most respected her. A few began plotting. Leo became her father's trainee, cleaning vehicles, learning routes, taking instructions from a man he once mocked. It humbled him quickly, giving Sheila no satisfaction but clear symbolic justice. But beneath the newfound order, something rotten moved. It started with a missing file. A financial report from 6 years ago vanished from the server. Then a locked office drawer appeared empty, though Sheila distinctly remembered sealing documents inside it. Then came the email. CEO Mensah, there are things you don't know about your mother's death. Anonymous. Encrypted. Sent through an internal extension. Sheila felt the chills slide across her spine. She began to realize, taking the throne didn't just give her power. It awakened enemies who preferred the past buried. 3 days later, her office phone rang. Not her mobile. Not her line manager's phone. Her private CEO line. A number only the board had. Yet the voice wasn't familiar. Smooth. Low. Refined. Ms. Mensah, it said. You've made the city interesting again. Sheila straightened in her chair. Who is this? A soft chuckle. I believe your mother once referred to me as a necessary devil. I prefer the term strategist. Her pulse kicked. Adrian Voss. Good. You're not easily intimidated. I'm not easily impressed either, she replied. Another quiet laugh, this one darker. I noticed. It's why I'm calling. Sheila inhaled carefully. She knew about Adrian's empire, Voss Dominion Group, rumored mafia ties, silent partnerships in half the Fortune 500, a private security force more sophisticated than the government's. Dangerous, but brilliant. What do you want? She asked. A meeting, he said. Tonight. 7 o'clock. Bring no one. She stiffened. I don't agree to meetings without context. You don't need context, he said. You need allies. And I'm the only one in this city powerful enough to keep you alive. A beat of silence. Alive? What did he know? What makes you think I'm in danger? She asked calmly. Because Crown Group's previous leadership had enemies, he said. And you, Ms. Mensah, have just inherited all of them. Sheila swallowed her reaction. Why help me? She asked. Because I like how you took the company, he replied. Clean. Efficient. Surgical. A woman who rises from the bottom with fire in her blood is refreshing. Her heartbeat faltered. She hated that his voice could do that. She regrouped. And if I refuse? You won't, he said softly. Not if you want to survive the month. The line clicked. The call ended. Sheila stared at her reflection in the dark glass of her office window. Rain beginning to streak down the pane, just like the night, everything changed. She whispered to herself. What did you get me into, Mom? When Daniel came to check on her at lunchtime, he noticed something was wrong. Sheila, he asked gently, are you all right? She forced a smile. Just work. He shook his head. No, I know your smile. What happened? She looked at her father, his tired eyes, his soft lines, the strength that had carried her through every storm. She couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not until she understood. I'm okay, she said. Daniel cupped her cheek. You don't have to carry everything alone. She nodded. But she did. Because the weight wasn't just the company anymore. It was the danger behind its walls. Later that afternoon, while reviewing files in her office, Sheila noticed a shadow move past her glass wall. Not someone walking normally. Someone lingering. She stepped out, heels clicking softly on the polished floor. No one was there. But a small white envelope sat on the ground beside her door. No markings. No seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed. Clear. Cold. Your mother didn't die in childbirth. Stop digging. Or you'll join her. Sheila's breath caught. Her hand trembled once. Just once. Then her eyes hardened. All right, she whispered. War it is. She slid the note into her desk drawer. She wasn't going to hide. She was going to hunt. At 7 p.m., Sheila stepped out of the building into the cool night air. She expected a car. She expected guards. She expected surveillance. Instead, a single black motorcycle rolled to a smooth stop in front of her. The rider removed his helmet. Sharp jaw. Cold eyes. A smirk that suggested he'd never lost a battle he didn't want to lose. Adrian Voss. Her breath paused in her chest. You're late, he said calmly. She frowned. I wasn't aware I was being timed. You are now. He extended his spare helmet. You invited me to a meeting, Sheila said. Not a joyride. This isn't joy. His gaze tracked hers, slow and assessing. It's survival. She stepped closer, her chin lifting. I don't get on motorcycles with men I don't trust. You don't have to trust me. His voice lowered. Just keep up. Some part of her, the part that had lived her whole life in the back seat, rebelled at the idea of letting someone else take the lead. But she wasn't that girl anymore. Sheila took the helmet. Adrian's smirk deepened, not mocking this time, but something else. Approval. She climbed on behind him, careful to keep distance. He took her hands and placed them firmly around his waist. You'll want to hold tighter, he murmured. Don't tell me what I'll. The motorcycle roared to life. Sheila's arms snapped tight around him as he shot into the night, weaving through the city like danger itself. Lights blurred. Wind tore at her hair. Power roared beneath her. And for the first time since stepping into the boardroom, Sheila felt something unexpected. Not fear. Not pressure. Not grief. Something hot. Something alive. Something dangerous. She felt like she was becoming the woman her mother wanted her to be. And Adrian Voss, mysterious, lethal, impossibly controlled, was the first man who looked at her like she already was. The motorcycle sliced through the city like a black blade. Adrian rode with impossible precision, leaning into corners with the ease of a man who didn't fear death because death feared him. Sheila pressed her hands against his waist, not because he told her to, but because the speed demanded it. She didn't trust him, but she trusted herself enough to choose danger over ignorance. After 20 minutes weaving through back roads, private tunnels, and restricted access lanes, Adrian finally slowed. He pulled up to a private rooftop overlooking the entire skyline. No guards, no cameras, no witnesses, just wind and height. He stepped off, helmet tucked under one arm. "You said this was a meeting," Sheila said, climbing off behind him. "Not a kidnapping." "If I wanted to kidnap you," Adrian said, shrugging out of his leather jacket, "you wouldn't know until you woke up somewhere warmer." She ignored the way his voice sent heat through her spine. "I don't like games," she said. "Good," he replied, stepping closer. "Because what I'm about to tell you isn't one." Sheila crossed her arms. "Start talking." "You're being watched," he said simply. "Inside your company." Sheila's jaw tightened. "I assumed as much." "You assumed correctly, but you underestimated the scale." Adrian walked to the ledge, looking out over the glowing city. "There are people in Crown Group who want you destroyed. Not removed. Destroyed." "Names," she said. "Soon," he replied. "First, context." Sheila joined him at the ledge, her heels clicking softly against the rooftop tiles. "My mother," she said quietly. "You hinted her death wasn't natural." Adrian looked at her with unreadable eyes. "Your mother was brilliant," he said. "Too brilliant. She built the real skeleton of Crown Group, the part the public never saw. The part that dealt with offshore accounts, strategic takeovers, and certain families." Sheila watched him carefully. "You mean the mafia?" "I mean people with more power than governments," he corrected. "Some legal, some convenient." Sheila didn't flinch. "Did they kill her?" Adrian inhaled slowly, the city lights reflecting off his eyes like cold steel. "I don't deal in rumors," he said. "I deal in evidence. And the evidence suggests your mother was negotiating a deal when she died. A deal certain people didn't want signed." Her blood chilled. "And those people?" she asked. "Some are still in your company," he said. "And they've already made their first move." Sheila's fingers curled into fists. "The letter." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "So they're bold already." "Good. Fear makes them sloppy." Sheila turned to him. "Why help me? You don't do anything for free." A slow, dangerous smile touched his lips. "Because your mother once made me a promise," he said. "A promise involving you." Her breath caught. "What promise?" "That you would reshape this city," he said. "If you lived long enough." Sheila looked away. Wind swept her hair across her face. Adrian reached out and tucked the strand behind her ear without asking. She froze. Not in fear. In recognition. He wasn't flirting. He was claiming a level of access to her emotions that no one ever dared to touch. "Don't do that," she said quietly. "Why?" Adrian asked. "Because you think you can control everything you touch. And you think you can control everything you fight." Their eyes locked. Heat. Defiance. Pull. Danger. He leaned in slightly, not touching her, but breaking the space between them intentionally. "I don't want to control you," Adrian murmured. "I want to see how far you rise. And who falls because of it." Her pulse hammered. "And what if I fall?" she asked. Adrian smirked. "You won't." He stepped back, gaze still sharp. "But someone in your building will." Sheila exhaled. "Give me the name." He reached into his jacket pocket and handed her a folded paper. She opened it. Her stomach dropped. One name. Someone she never suspected. Someone who had smiled at her, shaken her hand, offered support. Someone high enough to sabotage her and bold enough to send threats. Her chief operations officer, Evan Hale. Sheila's eyes darkened. Adrian watched her reaction with something like admiration. "You see it now," he said softly. "This isn't just business. It's the kind of war your mother was trained for." "I'm not my mother," Sheila whispered. "No," Adrian said. "You're more dangerous." He stepped closer again. "Which is why I want something in return." Sheila held his gaze. "What?" "An alliance," he said. "Your company. My network. Shared intelligence. Shared protection. A pact." "With conditions?" she asked. "With expectations," he corrected. She looked away, the skyline blurring slightly as her mind raced. Adrian Voss was a king in this world. Accepting his alliance meant protection, but also entanglement. "I'll think about it," she said finally. "No," Adrian replied softly. "You'll decide. Before someone else decides for you." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Of her office. Taken minutes ago. The message beneath it read, "You have no idea who you're fighting." Her veins turned cold. Adrian saw her expression and took the phone from her hand. He studied the photo once, jaw tightening. Then he handed it back. "It's begun," he said. Sheila nodded once. "No more waiting," she whispered. "No more reacting." She turned to Adrian fully. "You want an alliance?" His eyebrow lifted. "Yes." "Then give me one thing first," she said. Adrian stepped closer. "And what's that?" "A guarantee." His voice dropped, low and dangerous. "A guarantee of what, Ms. Mensah?" She met his gaze. "Of loyalty." Adrian's smirk faded, not into disrespect, but something sharper. "Respect." "You want the loyalty of a wolf," he said softly. "Careful. Once you have it, it never leaves." She didn't blink. "Then give it." Adrian studied her for several long seconds. Then, wordlessly, he reached out and took her hand. Not romantically, not tenderly, symbolically. Power recognizing power. His thumb brushed her pulse, a deliberate gesture, slow enough to feel intimate, firm enough to feel like a warning. "I'm yours," Adrian said, voice low. "As long as you stay dangerous." Sheila didn't pull away. She didn't flinch. She squeezed his hand back once. "Good," she said. "Because tomorrow, I go after Evan Hale." "And tonight?" Adrian asked. She stepped past him toward the motorcycle. "Tonight," she said, "I make war plans." He smiled. A dark, devastating smile. "Oh, Ms. Mensah," he murmured. "You're going to be magnificent." She didn't sleep. She didn't even try. The war had begun the moment she saw the photo of her office, taken without her knowledge, while she was in a private meeting no one should have known about. It meant Evan Hale had eyes everywhere. But Sheila had teeth now. She spent the night in her penthouse office, blueprinting the entire structure of Crown Group, department by department, leader by leader, budget line by budget line. Two names kept circling back to each other like wolves closing in for a kill. Evan Hale, Marcus Crown. Together, they had enough power to destroy any newcomer. Unless the newcomer wasn't afraid to bleed them first. At dawn, she called legal, security, and internal auditing. "Execute Protocol 6, she said. The line went dead silent. Protocol 6 was reserved for only one scenario. Internal treason at the executive level. Within minutes, the building locked down. Evan Hale arrived 30 minutes later, confident and polished as ever, smiling like a man who thought he owned the whole city. "Sheila, you called for me." "You're late," she said without looking up. He frowned slightly. "I wasn't aware this was urgent." She slid a document across the table. "Audit results," she said. "Signed this morning." Evan picked up the paper. His smile faltered. "Unauthorized transfers," he read aloud. "What are you insinuating?" "That you moved company funds into a dormant offshore account 2 months ago," she replied. "Under the guise of a shell contractor." Evan laughed lightly. Too lightly. "This is ridiculous," he said. "You're misinterpreting the—" "I'm not misinterpreting anything," she said. "The problem isn't the money. It's what the account was used for." Evan froze. Because he knew. Because she already knew. "You paid for an intelligence firm," she said calmly. "To track me before I even took office. To track my father. To trace the original shareholder documents. You tried to erase my claim before I could claim it." He forced a smirk. "You have no proof." She pressed a button on her desk. A screen lit up. "I do," she said. "Your voice. Authorizing the payment." Evan's face drained. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "You think this scares me?" he said, shifting into arrogance like a dying man grabbing a weapon. "Do you know how long I've been in this company? I built departments from scratch. I protected Marcus's father when your family." He stopped. He said too much. Sheila's gaze sharpened. "When my family what?" Evan stepped backward. "No," he whispered. "I didn't mean—" "When my mother what, Evan?" His face contorted. "She wasn't supposed to lead," he said. "She wasn't supposed to own the company. Marcus's father, your grandfather, made sure she never took control." Sheila's blood turned to ice. "What did he do?" she asked. Evan's eyes flickered toward the door. He was about to run. Sheila hit another button. Security stormed in. Evan lunged toward the exit anyway, yelling, "You don't understand. Your mother was killed for the same reason you will be." But the guard slammed him against the wall before he reached the hall. "Take him into custody," Sheila said. Evan's voice cracked as they dragged him away. "Sheila, listen to me. The board wasn't the enemy. It was your own bloodline. Your mother died because she trusted the wrong." The door shut. His screams cut off. Silence. But inside that silence, a storm was gathering. Sheila gripped the edge of the table. Her mother had trusted someone she shouldn't have. Someone close. Her phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It was a call from hospital emergency services. Her stomach flipped. "This is CEO Mensah," she answered. "What's happened?" The nurse on the other end spoke quickly. "Your father, Daniel Mensah, was admitted 20 minutes ago. Severe head trauma. He was found unconscious inside the parking garage. We believe it was an attack." The world narrowed into a single, razor-sharp point. "Is he alive?" she whispered. "Yes, but he's in critical condition." Sheila didn't remember dropping her phone. She didn't remember running to the elevator. She didn't remember breathing. She only remembered the pain. The same pain she saw in her father's eyes the night he came home bloody and silent. Someone wanted to break her. So they went after the only weakness she had left. Her father. She entered the hospital running. Doctors stopped her with raised hands, IVs, machines, the smell of antiseptic hitting her like a wave. When she saw him through the glass, her father lying still, bandages soaked around his temples, her heart cracked. Her knees buckled. She caught herself against the wall and inhaled through tears she refused to let fall. Her father had survived humiliation. He had survived exhaustion. He had survived grief. But this was attempted murder. She was no longer playing corporate games. She was at war. But she wasn't alone. A voice behind her said, "You should have called me the moment you felt unsafe." She turned. Adrian Voss stood at the end of the hallway. Black coat, cold expression, eyes burning. Sheila didn't ask how he found her. He always found things. Or people. "Whoever did this," Adrian said softly, "just signed their death warrant." Sheila's voice trembled with controlled fury. "He's all I have." "And that," Adrian replied, stepping closer, "is why they targeted him. They wanted your heart unguarded. They wanted you grieving. They wanted you afraid." He reached her, gently taking the back of her hand. For the first time, she didn't pull away. "I'm not afraid," she whispered. "I'm angry." "Good," Adrian murmured. "Use it." She looked into his eyes and saw something terrifying. Not pity, not comfort. Protection, fierce, violent, absolute. Adrian cupped her jaw with a hand that was surprisingly warm. "This doesn't end in court," he said. "It ends the way your mother's enemies intended to end her, but failed." Sheila's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Adrian leaned in, voice low enough to shake her bones. "I mean you're done defending yourself. You're going on the offense. You're going to finish what your mother started. And I'm going to help you burn down whoever put your father in that bed." Sheila exhaled shakily, fury and grief twisting inside her until it felt like fire. "Tell me how," she said. Adrian's voice softened, but his eyes didn't. "First," he said, "you let me tear apart the man who touched your father." Sheila's tears finally escaped. But they weren't weak. They were the beginning of something ruthless. Something unstoppable. Adrian brushed them with his thumb, slow, deliberate, claiming her rage as his own. "Second," he said, "you take back everything they stole from your mother." "And third?" she asked quietly. Adrian stepped even closer, lowering his forehead until it nearly touched hers. "Third," he murmured, "you let me protect what's mine." Sheila's breath hitched. Anger, grief, power, and heat swirling into something dizzying. "I'm not yours," she whispered. Adrian's lips tilted into a slow, dark smirk. "Not yet." The hospital lights hummed softly, but Sheila heard none of it. She stood outside her father's room, watching doctors move around him with efficient calm. Meanwhile, her fury sharpened into something cold and exact. "We're not acting until we know who did this," she said. Adrian leaned against the wall, arms crossed. His presence had already shifted the hallway. Nurses avoiding his gaze, security giving him wide space, a ripple of authority extending around him like a shadow. "We already know," he said. Sheila turned sharply. "We don't have proof." "You don't need proof. You need a target." "I won't attack blindly." Adrian's gaze darkened. "You hesitate because he's your weakness." Her breath caught. My father is not a weakness. He is to them, Adrian said quietly. And the longer you pretend otherwise, the more danger he's in. Sheila clenched her fists. He was right, and she hated that he was right. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. A message. No name. Just a video file. She tapped it open. Her blood froze. A grainy camera feed, taken from the parking garage where her father was attacked. A man approached Daniel, speaking briefly, then striking him with a blunt object. The video ended as Daniel collapsed. The attacker wore a cap, pulled low. But Sheila recognized the posture. The arrogance. The way he held himself like a man who believed consequences were for other people. Marcus Crown. Her breath shattered in her lungs. She stared at the screen again, unable to blink. Marcus. Her grandfather's prodigal heir. The man who sat across from her in the boardroom, trying to smile as her new power suffocated him. He hadn't hired someone. He had done it himself. The phone shook in her hand. Adrian stepped closer. Let me see. She handed it over, fingers trembling. He watched the footage once. Twice. 3 times. When he looked up, his eyes were different, colder than she'd ever seen. He's dead, Adrian said calmly. Sheila swallowed hard. No. No. Adrian echoed. I'm not letting you kill him. Oh, Sheila. His tone softened with a dangerous affection. You think you're stopping me? She stepped closer, voice steady even as rage burned through her veins. This isn't your war, she said. It is now. No, she repeated, firmer. If Marcus falls, he falls because I push him, not because you act in my name. Adrian's jaw flexed. He tried to kill your father, and he will answer for it. Her voice dropped to a whisper of lethal control. But not your way. Adrian stepped closer, stopping just inches from her. His presence didn't intimidate her. It centered her. You're choosing justice over vengeance, he said. I'm choosing strategy, she replied. Killing him gives his allies power. Exposing him gives me the throne. A flicker of something like pride crossed Adrian's face. You're becoming dangerous, he murmured. No, Sheila said, eyes burning. I've always been dangerous. I just spent too long pretending not to be. A doctor approached quickly. Ms. Mensah, your father is stable. He's unconscious, but no longer critical. Relief crashed into her, so hard she nearly swayed. She exhaled shakily, gripping the wall. Adrian steadied her with a hand at her waist. Firm, anchoring, protective in a way that made her heartbeat stumble. Sheila stepped away, not out of discomfort, out of clarity. She had no space to fall into anyone's shadow, even Adrian's. Take me back to headquarters, she said. Adrian studied her face. You're going straight into battle. That's where I belong. A faint, approving smirk touched his lips. Then let's go. The moment Sheila entered Crown Group, fear rippled through the building. Workers paused mid-conversation. Assistants straightened. Security guards snapped to attention. Everyone felt the shift in her aura. The girl from the rain was gone. This woman looked like a storm in human form. Her heels echoed through the lobby like war drums. Her coat swept behind her like a banner. Adrian walked beside her, radiating power in a way that made the very walls listen. As they stepped into the executive floor, Sheila spoke. Lock the building. Security hesitated. Adrian didn't. You heard her, he said, tone sharp enough to split steel. Within seconds. Access denied. Doors sealed. Executives trapped. Board members unable to flee. Panic erupted down the hall. Sheila walked straight into the conference room, where a dozen senior leaders sat waiting, most of them pale, whispering, expecting a polite meeting. Instead, they saw her, eyes burning, posture commanding, and Adrian beside her like a silent executioner. Good morning, she said calmly. Silence swallowed the room. She placed her phone on the table and tapped it. The video played. Gasps filled the air. A woman covered her mouth. Someone cursed under their breath. Another whispered, Dear God. Marcus stood slowly, jaw tightening. This is doctored, he said, voice shaking with poorly hidden fear. Sheila tilted her head. Why are your hands trembling? Marcus glared at her. You think you can frame me? You think you can manipulate this company into following you? Sheila stepped forward. Adrian casually leaned against the wall, watching with the relaxed posture of someone who could kill everyone in the room with one hand. This isn't manipulation, Sheila said softly. It's truth. She pressed another button. The second angle appeared, clearer. Marcus's face fully visible. The room erupted into cries. Marcus lunged at her suddenly, shouting, "You don't deserve the name Crown. You never did. You." He didn't reach her. Security tackled him instantly, pinning him to the floor. Adrian didn't move. He didn't have to. His presence alone froze the remaining executives. Marcus thrashed, spit, screamed. "She's nothing. She's a mistake. Her mother was supposed to die." The entire room inhaled sharply. Marcus's eyes widened. He had said too much. More than he ever meant to reveal. Enough to expose everything. Sheila's voice went cold. "Take him to the authorities," she said. "Charge him with attempted murder, corporate sabotage, conspiracy." Marcus roared as guards dragged him out. "You'll regret this. You're a child. You have no idea what your mother started. You're next." The doors slammed shut behind him. Silence followed. Then, a single board member whispered, "What now?" Sheila lifted her chin. "Now," she said, "we rebuild this company. And anyone who stands in my way." She glanced at Adrian. He smiled faintly. "We'll learn why my mother feared no one." As Sheila left the room, she felt Adrian fall into step beside her. "You didn't need me in there," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "But I wanted you there." He paused. A dangerous pause. Then, "You're beginning to understand the difference between power and presence." Sheila stopped walking. "So teach me," she said. Adrian turned toward her, studying her expression, determined, fierce, unyielding. "I will," he murmured. "But understand something first." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Power changes you. Permanently. The woman you're becoming, she won't go back." Sheila's eyes held his. "Good," she said. "Because the woman I was before couldn't win this war." For the first time, Adrian's expression shifted. Something like awe, laced with something far more dangerous. "Sheila," he whispered, "you are going to own this entire city." He didn't touch her, but the space between them felt electric. Charged, unspoken, and far from over. For the next 3 days, the entire city talked about only one thing. The driver's daughter who took down a crown. News stations dissected her boardroom takeover. Financial analysts praised her ruthlessness. Citizens whispered about the woman who rose from the garage to the glass throne. But inside Crown Group, Sheila wasn't celebrating. She was hunting. With Marcus in custody and Evan Hale facing charges of embezzlement and conspiracy, the company's internal corruption began unraveling like rotten thread. Every hour, new secrets surfaced. Offshore laundering, ghost contractors, hidden alliances with rival conglomerates. A private security force tied to an unnamed outside benefactor. Adrian studied each revelation with quiet, calculating interest. "You're not cleaning up a company," he said one evening, watching her from the corner of her office. "You're digging up a graveyard." Sheila didn't look up from the files. "I need to know how deep it goes. And what will you do when you discover the truth?" She paused. "I'll survive it." Adrian smiled faintly. "That's what your mother said." Sheila finally looked at him. "You knew her well." "I knew her better than most," he replied. "She was bold, brilliant, dangerous, but she trusted the wrong people." His gaze sharpened. "You won't make that mistake, will you?" Sheila leaned back in her chair. "Depends," she said. "Do you consider yourself the wrong kind of person?" Adrian's smirk deepened. "I consider myself the necessary kind." Their eyes held for a moment too long. And then, a knock on the door broke the tension. Her investigator stepped in. "Ms. Mensah, we found something." He handed her a sealed envelope. Old, yellowed, corners worn with time. It was hidden behind the false wall in your mother's old office. Sheila swallowed hard. Her hands shook slightly as she broke the seal. Inside was a letter, her mother's handwriting. The moment her eyes recognized the script, her vision blurred. "My Sheila, if you are reading this, then I have failed to keep danger from you. This company, this empire, it was never meant to be a crown. It is a battlefield wearing diamonds. Someone will come for you. Someone inside these walls. Someone I once trusted. They will pretend to protect this family, but they will destroy it to keep their power. Your father is the only one you can trust. And one other. The man who lives between the law and the shadows. Adrian Voss. He is dangerous, but he does not betray. If he reaches for your hand, take it. Not because you are weak, but because one day, you will need a wolf." Sheila's breath caught. Her fingers trembled. Adrian stepped forward slowly, saying nothing. She read the last line. "Rise, my daughter. Rise higher than I ever could. And never bow to men who fear your strength." A tear slipped down her cheek. Not from sorrow, from recognition. Adrian reached out and gently closed the letter. Now you understand, he said softly. Sheila looked up at him, voice unsteady but strong. My mother trusted you. And I failed her, Adrian replied. I will not fail you. Sheila studied his face, cold, controlled, impossible to read. And yet, for the first time, she saw the fracture line beneath the steel. You knew who betrayed her, she whispered. I suspected, he said. But without proof, I could do nothing. Now we have proof, Sheila said. Adrian's gaze sharpened. Yes, we do. Sheila stood, straightening her shoulders, lifting her chin. Then it's time to end this. Adrian's eyes darkened. What do you want from me? He asked. She stepped closer, unafraid. I want the truth. Every piece of it. Every name. Every ally. Every enemy. You said my mother made you a promise. Now I want yours. Adrian stepped into her space, his voice a low vow. My loyalty is yours. Not because your mother asked, but because you've earned it. Sheila swallowed. And what do you want in return? Adrian held her gaze, quiet, intense, dangerously honest. You, he said softly. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. A shiver ran through her. Not fear, not romance, but a recognition of power meeting power. That's not part of this alliance, she said. Not yet, he replied, but it will be. Sheila lifted her chin. You think you can claim me like territory? I think, Adrian murmured, that the world won't know what to do when we stand side by side. Sheila didn't answer, not because she agreed, but because answering meant acknowledging something she wasn't ready to face. Instead, she turned toward the window. The city lights glittered below, thousands of people who would never know how close their world had come to being ruled by monsters, or saved by one woman. Tomorrow, Sheila said, we expose the last traitor. We reclaim everything my mother built, and we rebuild Crown Group from the ashes. Adrian stepped beside her. And after tomorrow, he asked. Sheila's eyes hardened. After tomorrow, we take the entire city. Adrian's slow smile returned, the smile of a man who had finally found someone equal to him. Good, he whispered, because I didn't want to conquer it alone.